Hi, I'm Lucile Knight. I've been at Claris's for almost a year and a half. I'm leading the financial services practice, and my background is mostly in financial services, so working with banks and insurance, helping them solve operating model issues, regulation, all kinds of challenges. And I've joined Claris's after my second mat leave. I've had to think a lot about who I was, I guess, when I was a parent, when you go back to work and when you're a woman, it's really hard actually, because everybody's is like, oh, so you kind of, if you're not full time, so I work 4 days a week, people will say things like, or they think you're not as motivated. Or I remember people ask me the question, so is your husband helping with the kids? I'm like, we're both working, so he's doing his share, and we're not back in the 1950s where this is a real exception that I'm back at work. So the thing I was thinking through my whole soul searching of trying to be okay with feeling like I wasn't letting people down was, I think I read somewhere a woman in defense of working mothers wrote something around the fact that we have kids and we're raising kids, and these kids will be paying for everybody's retirement, in 50 years' time. So actually, we're doing society a service. So all of this made me feel like, oh, it's okay, and I should be comfortable with this, and there's other priorities there. When you go back to work after kids, you're a completely different person. And the big thing here is that the things you prioritize or value as important or stressful or that needs addressing are completely different. And before kids, loads of things I thought were important actually are not, or things I thought were stressful actually aren't. So there's a really nice kind of rebalance of actually all these burning issues aren't that burning anymore. So you're able to focus on the stuff that really does matter, really will make a difference to the project or the client or whatever you're working on, which is quite a nice feeling. It kind of just puts perspective on that, and you realize you don't need to spend all this energy worrying on tons of stuff, because I also always say to younger people in the company who don't have kids, and I guess I'm saying this to my younger self without kids, but you don't know what stress is until you have kids. And it's so nice when people ask you, oh, what stresses you at work? I'm like, well, nothing stresses me at work, although that's like sometimes I do get stressed. But it just kind of shows how work and family life are just quite different. The other thing that I feel I really benefit from with having kids and working is that I've got a very different drive on my career. So I still want to grow, and I'm still as impatient and hungry and thirsty for the next level and the next thing, but it's a lot more long term. I used to be very focused on the next role and how is that going to continue to set me in the right direction. But actually you realize it's not about that. It's more the skills you learn, and why are you doing this? Where do you want to be in the next 5 years? Okay, well, are you still on that trajectory? Okay. So just a different way again of spending energy to get there. Yeah, which is all in all feels very nice. So I've been reflecting on what makes it work with me. The first thing is knowing why I'm doing this. So I knew I wanted to go back to work. For a while I wasn't sure if consulting was for me, and then because I wanted something with more coaching, and luckily at Claris's there's a lot of coaching in everything we do. So that's the thing that made me think, okay, actually I could see a career back into consulting, doing something I really like. And I wanted to go back to work because I want to have a career. I obviously love the kids, but I like having something else that's my own thing, where I'm not a wife and I'm not a mum. I actually do something in my own time. I think for me there's also a big thing around being an example for the kids. And there's loads of studies that say that daughters who have a mum that works have a higher rate of going through higher education and getting good jobs and all that. So there's almost it's quite an engaged thing for me to do, to go back to work. How does it work in practice? Everybody's talking about work-life balance. I've been talking a lot about work-life balance myself because I'm coaching parents. I was coaching in my mat leave. And the thing I've realized, or what needs to work for me, I guess, is work-life balance is not a short-term thing. It's not every day has to have the perfect work-life balance, because sometimes there'll be instances where work needs to be taking all of my time, all of my attention, but I need to balance that with moments where actually right now I'm prioritizing family over work. So I don't look at it on a daily basis or weekly or even monthly basis sometimes, but it's always in the back of my mind, okay, if I'm taking if I'm working really long hours for a long time, what am I going to do to switch that priority back? So that goes hand in hand with them not apologizing for actually taking time, leaving earlier to be with the kids, saying no to meetings that are put at just too late or too early. That's something I've had to be comfortable with, because I'm always going to have kids and I'm going to be working for a long time. So if I spend my time feeling bad about making time for the kids, it's just going to be miserable for me. And I also think about women in the workplace who are thinking at some point they want to have kids. If they don't see us doing it right and doing it well, that's going to put them off either having kids or going back to work. And I don't want either of this to happen. And I know in the past I've struggled, and I've seen women who work really well, they have this amazing career, but I've always had the perception that this is completely detrimental to their family life. So that's kind of stayed in my mind a bit. Luckily, at Claris's, I get told off if I'm working late or if I'm picking up emails. I have been told off. I remember when I started, actually, I was answering messages on Hangout on Wednesday, which is my day off. And Matt told me, like, what are you doing? It's your day off. Get off. So I was like, okay. Which is nice because it then gives you the kind of authorization to turn everything off. So I think it's all about, feeling enabled by the business, but also yourself doing that. And I realized in my head it's always a bigger deal, like, oh my god, if I work late or if I'm saying yes to that late meeting, it means I don't see the kids. How do I do that? I realized if I just say sorry, I'm not going to do that meeting at 5 to 6, because it means I won't see the kids and I don't want to do that tonight or this week. People completely understand that. I've been actually quite surprised. So it's a bigger deal in your head, and once you get comfortable doing that, then it's actually okay. Sometimes I don't want to turn off because I'm just in the middle of something really exciting or really thrilling, and it's hard to be like, okay, I'm turning it off now and putting my focus on the family. But I think it's a good problem to have. I love working with Claris's because of the type of work or the type of things I get to do on a daily basis. So there's aspects of consulting that I love, and I love how I'm enabled to do them today. So things I love about consulting, I love first, you're quite privileged because you're allowed into very kind of an intimate perspective on how businesses are run, and clients trust you to help them solve things. I love the intellectual challenge of coming in and having to sort out actually what is the problem there, what's the best way to approach that. I like the challenge of stakeholders management and having to both build credibility and trust very quickly to be able to work with them. And I love how I'm enabled to do that because, as I said earlier, I'm trying to build it's really exciting trying to build the financial services practice here. And I realize actually two things that are very important to me. We talk about values and things like that internally. Well, two values here. The main one being autonomy. So I feel I'm giving a lot of remit to try and innovate and see what works, what doesn't work, decide on the direction, build a business case, go out to the market and see really what sticks. And that's really the thing that I enjoy most, is having that freedom to try things. And there's also a big investment from the business to support that. So I'm given the means to try things. It's not just, oh yeah, you do that, but then we're not supporting you, any of that. There's a real, okay, Lucile, you think we should be talking to these customers about this particular problem. Let's go and organize a dinner. Let's go and organize something. Let's go out. Let's actively grow a partner network in the industry. So I really, really love the fact that I've got this both freedom and the fact that I'm so empowered to do that. At Claris's, we put a really big emphasis on growth, learning, development. So like I said before, we've got a coaching model as in terms of management style, which means we're helping people find solutions and find ways to help themselves get to the next level. As an example of that, even our bonuses are based on what we've done in the last quarter to develop. And we're really big on self-awareness, kind of being honest about things you're good at, but also things you're not so good at, and what help do you need, who can help you in the business, and all of this. So I thought it'd be interesting to share the couple of things I'm personally working on now. I'm working on slowing down. I've always had quite a big impatience streak, and I'm, again, very eager to get the next thing done, but I realize it's not, first of all, in the long term, it's really tiring because you're always running out of steam. It's also not always the best way to solve problems. So I remember Stephen told me the other day, you need to slow down to go fast. And I thought that was really a really good reminder of, okay, take a step back, breathe, and think, what am I trying to do here? Okay, what is the best way, instead of just going next. But that also applies to longer term career things. Is stop focusing about the next level, but think, okay, in the long run, what do I want to do? Okay, what skills do you need? And then the other thing that's still definitely a work in progress is getting better at saying no to more things. So sometimes I find myself so busy and I realize, well, it's completely my own fault. I've said yes to everything. So if I stop when someone's asked me, can you please help with that? Do you want to do this? Instead of saying, yes, absolutely, let's do it tomorrow, I could say, yes, I'll do it in 3 weeks when I'm freer, and just kind of being okay with that. And overall saying no, because sometimes I'm not the best person to help, or they already have someone who can provide the same input, so I'm not needed there. And realize that if I'm too busy, then it's not good for anyone. So it seems so well to say yes to lots of stuff, to be involved in loads of things, but actually if you're doing a bad job because you're stretched or you're letting people down, it's just not good. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this insight. Thank you very much for listening, and I'm looking forward to the next podcast.